How do, everyone? Welcome to the Potty Mouth Boxing Day Christmas special. And Stephen, JB, we're on a bit of a relaxed day today. Yes, a lot of kind of Christmas dinner yesterday. And someone has got a sore shoulder. Is that right, Stephen? Someone pulled out the biggest parsnip, and it was just like, and we were talking just before there, Steve, like, it was like massive, wasn't it? And it's pulled your shoulder.
Yeah, it is. It's just blinking sleigh bells. Yeah, it was one of those things that I'd parted the soil around this parsnip. I could see it had a big sort of head, and I thought this is going to be a big bugger. So I sort of cleared the soil around the top 12 inches, and then I started pulling, and it wasn't coming. So yanked a bit more, loosened it with a fork. It still wasn't coming. Pulled again, and I felt it give a little bit. So I give it an extra big tug, and it was that did it. And I think I've done a sort of a muscle or something in there. I don't know, but now every time I lift my hand or try and lift a cup, of course, my right hand's my dominant hand. So, opening a door or a cupboard or somehow. Yeah.
So you're hoping, though, it's going to be a couple of days, but I don't think it will be, Steve. I think these things last like a couple of weeks more. Do you know what I mean? I remember when I had that slap shoulder thing and folks were in the comments were saying, oh, that'll take like 6 months. I mean, this was like in deep in there. Yours is at your back, I guess, like a straight on the muscle. But it just, like you say, you kind of, you know what I mean? And did you feel it, Steve, when you kind of pulled that parsnip out?
Oh, yeah.
Did you feel, you felt it hurt straight away, did you?
It hurt straight away. And I was just starting to film. I was going to put a video together of harvesting veg around there. And I just knew there was no way I could continue doing anything. So that's when I just sat down and recorded that little video and said, basically what I said and showed the reason why. But it was a big parsnip and it was lovely as well. I was surprised because I really thought, I was thinking in the back of my mind, it's going to be woody. It's not going to be very good. But no, we ate most of it yesterday, about 3/4 of it, and it was fantastic. Really,
did you get,
nice.
Steve, I forgot, JB, I'll come to you, sir, just one. But did you, because Steve, you, like me, left your potatoes out. Did you get yours in before the big, because my potatoes, -5, every one was kind of spongy, as if you'd froze a potato and they took it out. Did you lose all your crop of potatoes, Steve?
I haven't even bothered looking at them because I know they're going to be knackered, so there's no point. I'll just leave them.
I had a plan for 2 videos for them potatoes, which would have been viral. And I even honestly, the first one was I cooked chips at the allotment. I even bought the crisp and dry fat. Do you know what I mean? And I had all this kind of thing, and I thought I might not on my little stove get up the temperature. And my thumbnail was going to be the blowtorch with the flames and everything, you know what I mean? Because I was going to use the blowtorch. And that was one. And then I was going to take me potatoes to the chip shop and get them to cook. Because the chip shop, there's only a chip shop like 3 or 4 doors away. And that whole gone. And I thought, like, you know what, just give it up to and forget it. Because every tub is gone. JB, it's lovely to have you.
There's always next year, Tony.
It's lovely to have you on as well, though. Thank you for doing this kind of, because I know like Boxing Day, it's a bit kind of families and, you're running around and doing things and chillaxing. So it's lovely to have you here, sir.
No, it's quite relaxed today. I'm really excited because I never start this early. It's one of those things that I always forget. I always get sidetracked, and then I don't really normally get started until February. So it's nice.
Oh, I know it's quite like an unusual thing. Because even when I was like mixing I've got some soils and stuff like that. I was thinking, shall I plant a tomato seed just for the seed? You know what I mean? Shall I grow a tomato seed? But I was going to ask.
Jessie started something really early, didn't she? Was it cucumber?
Yes.
Was it cucumbers that she started in like February?
And she was like, there was like loads kind of going. What I just thought there was, before I lose this, I've got one question, you know what I mean? Because I haven't got notes or anything this time. So if you put a capital Q, we might try and get to some, but it's an onion special today. And I haven't even kind of done the intro. Oh, I thought I forgot my question. No, I'm going to get it out now because it'll go and it's gone. Are gardeners early people? Like, you know how you got like a kind of an early morning rises or a late rises? My son is a nighttime. My wife is a nighttime person. I'm like, I get up at like, say, 5:30, 6:30, 6:30, something like that. And I'm happy. I'm alive. I'm aware. Where you get me son up, you get me wife up, you know, like God forbid any of them times, and it's just like you know what I mean? Where come like say 9 o'clock though for me, I'm kind of, do you know what I mean? I'm knocking, and I was just thinking, gardeners must be early people, like an early. JB, you've got to be, man.
I know.
How can you not be like get to the garden early?
Yeah, I should be. Mine completely depends on moods. Like the time that I get up in the morning fluctuates so much. Like I'm so inconsistent. Like today, we got up at 9:30. I know it is Boxing Day, but yeah, some mornings I'll be up at 6. Some mornings I'll be up at 9. It really just depends.
So, do you have a mood though? Like if you kind of sleep, because if I woke up say 9 o'clock. Be like, I've wasted, you know, but there's no mood with you. You just kind of whatever.
No, I kind of. It just depends on how my sleep felt. Like today, I woke up feeling amazing. Like I was just like, yes, let's go. And it was 9:30. But yeah, normally it is really nice when I do wake up early, and you can kind of get started on the day, and it gets to kind of midday, and it feels like you've done so much already. I wish I was like that all the time. I really do.
I know Steve is, because I get bloody texts off him at like 5:30 in the summer's morning when he's away to the plot.
Exactly.
So I reckon that, Steve, that must be as well with being chef as well. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be there crack of dawn to kind of prepare veg and kind of, you know, food and everything that.
Yeah, it's something I've done lifelong. You know, of course, with when I was much younger, I used to do a lot of fishing as well. So I was out at the crack of dawn for that. So yeah, as soon as it's light outside, if I wake up and it's light outside already, I'm late.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. And it's like, to get that feeling, though, like, it's such a lovely feeling when you get the allotment, there's no one there, and it's like say 6:30, and it's like, it's almost like you've stole a little bit back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like walking on fresh snow, isn't it?
Yes. Right, well, we are... Now, it's Stephen that actually says this. Boxing Day is the day to sow your onion seeds. Now, I was just saying to JB there, I am a set man through and through. Do you know what I mean? I've never sown onion seeds. I've tried the odd one. I'm not saying I haven't sown them, but always I'll come like, say, probably March. I'll go to the garden centre or online and buy like bags of like onion sets and put them in. And onion, like the white onions, I don't really have a problem with. You know what I mean? They grow good, and I might fight with, say, you know, onion rot, you know, that kind of thing, which is a given on my plot. But white onions are perfect. Red onions, every time, go to seed. And Steve just kind of said, well, it's because you're doing sets, man. It's like synonymous with kind of Bolton red onions. So, and Steve Hughes did say it was like kind of, this has been like passed down granddads, you know what I mean? Granddad, you know, like your Boxing Day is a kind of traditional day for sowing onion seeds.
I think it's a combination of getting seeds going early. It's also a combination of gardeners growing for shows in the autumn, and also a combination of, on Boxing Day, the old man of the house has had enough of the family around at Christmas and he wants an excuse to get out. But that's where I think it's come from, because, you know, when I was a kid and going off with my granddad doing all this gardening stuff, if you went down the allotments on a Boxing Day morning, near enough every greenhouse would have a bloke in it, and he was there and you knew exactly what he was doing. He was sowing his onions, and that's always been the done thing. Any more tradition, I don't know about. But something that's a little bit annoying at the moment, I keep seeing, is people are putting leeks into the same category as onions. for sowing on Boxing Day, and that's just wrong. So I don't like that at the minute.
Oh, the nerve of some gardeners.
I know.
They're cheeky. you know where
that's
those,
been done. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, we're going to sow seeds now for onions.
Right.
But can someone come along and say March, and which is
Yes.
and still get an onion that by sowing?
Definitely, yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
So, are we just like getting the actual veg earlier then, and then you can clear it for the next year, like the next round of crops you want to grow in that garden, or would you kind of sow seeds now? Then say a month later, sow some more possibly, and then a month later, sow more, or not?
Well, I'm leaving myself plenty of time. If these seeds that I'm going to sow today fail, I've got plenty of time to sow again. I'm also spreading my season out for what I need to sow and grow on. So I'm not sowing everything in 2 days in one weekend. I'm kind of spreading it out over the season and giving myself that fallback cushion of plenty of more time to sow. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could sow in the middle of February or in the middle of March and they'll grow. And red onions are particularly good for that. So
Right. Well, talking about failure and, you know what I mean? Failure and... GB, sir. What... Am I right in remembering that we've chat there that you're an onion set man? You've never grown seeds as well.
Yep, 100%. And mine is always it's just forgetting. Like I always have this bad kind of mental block with the start of the season, and I'll start my chilies nice and early, and then suddenly it'll be the end of February, and it's like it just happened, and I didn't realize, and then I go, oh god, I need to, I don't have my potatoes, I don't have my onion sets or whatever. So we just bomb down to Wilkinson's. That's
the kind
pick it all up, super cheap. And I bung it in the ground. And like Steve was saying, I end up doing everything in, a couple of weekends, like sowing everything. It's always quite stressful. Yeah. And it's human error, like it's bad planning. I just need to kind of snap out of it. A bit of it is weather as well. Those February kind of can be really cold, and you can be a bit like reticent to get out and about because I'm a southern softie.
Well, the kind of onions can stand a bit of cold there now as well. Long as I guess the roots are warm, they can kind of put up with a little bit of kind of chill. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, to get these seeds going, you only sort of need temperatures between 10 and sort of 16 degrees. 13 is ideal to get them going. They don't even need propagator heat, just a windowsill or cold greenhouse, or a cold frame, get them started in there and let Mother Nature and the daily temperature sort it out for you. So they're very good, but it's just another thing sown and something else out of the way. And I've got all this kind of built into my head over years that, once I've done my onions, then I'm starting to think about my peppers and my aubergines, and then later on my tomatoes. And, it kind of goes like a diary, if you like, up here in my head.
Mm-hmm. What about, Steve, because I've got some spring onions. Can you chance spring onions just yet?
Yeah, you can. I mean, they might not do very well, but there's no harm in trying because the weather can change, and the weather does change in the UK. So you never quite know what's going to happen. And that's why I do it all the time. I sow things that I know I shouldn't be growing. And every single time, near enough, it surprises me. Mm-hmm. Even after 50 years, something new will happen, and something, I'll learn something else, which is good.
Well, mind you, I've had my backside handed to us this year with the frost. Do you know what I mean? I thought that the hot, the scorching was like bad for the garden, but that and like I say, yours, Steve, with like minus 15 or something silly like that, it's just like you ain't going to grow anything, and it's going to kill.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter losing a few crops, Tony, because the next 4 or 5 years you might get mild temperatures all the way through, and that's where you gain, and that's why it's worth doing.
Mine, it was quite it's quite a startling video of yours where you were sitting in the greenhouse talking about, I can't remember what you were talking about, but all your plants in the background are dead. Do you know what I mean? Like hit by the frost, and it's just like, oh. So JB, JB, what onion seeds are you growing then, sir? What are you going to attempt?
But I've got I've got the classic basically today, which is one of Steve's recommendations.
Right, Bedford Champion. Right.
Yes, brilliant.
So luckily I had one of these. I think this is a fresh seed. Yeah, Feb 23. So I've got those, and I've got as well a really old packet of the same one. So this is Bedford Champion as well.
Right.
And this is quite old, so I'm going to do this in a separate thing and just see.
What company is that? JB, what company is that one?
This is Seed Parade, the one that we were talking about. So they're supplied by Premier Seeds Direct.
Right.
But they're super cheap. And I got these. These are old. These are really old. Packed 2021.
Oh, so, I can beat that. JB. Wait on. But I'm there. I'll just I'll jump to me 1 second there. So these, can you see?
2020.
Now I was talking to kind of Steve about these, and this company, Mammoth Improves. They don't do it in this glass little vial. So I've had this for a while there now, and as you can see, I've still got quite a few of them. Stephen, JB, will these grow? Well, JB, will 2020? Can you wish? Can you blow a magic Christmas kiss on it and wish it luck?
I don't think I'm a very good omen for plants.
So what else, JB, are you growing?
So it says I've got these ones as well, which are once again bit of an older seed. Is it going to focus? It is, but it's a bit reflective. This is Carmen, which is meant to be a sweet red onion, and this is from Real Seeds. These were given to me a little while back by a friend, and I did the thing where I hadn't planned. So by the time I was looking at my seeds, this was kind of April, and I went, ooh, a bit late for those red onions, I think. So they're a little bit old as well, but we're going to give those a go. And I've got another red, which is a classic, which I have actually had some success with. I think I sowed these first year that I had, so we're coming into my fourth year, and I think I sowed these in kind of late February, March into seed cells, and they were a little bit dinky when it came to harvest time, but I did actually get a red onion from seed without it bolting, and I've never tried red onion sets.
So yeah, I don't mind dinky onions, mind you, JB. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes like it's just a small like red onion, especially you can use it in one salad, sitting like one salad bowl, and it's, you know, I've often kind of said that. So no problem there with me. Right, my seeds then. My main one is, and I grow this each year, is stir-on. Now, about 2 or 3 years ago, I started mixing stir-ons and Stuttgart. I think it's called Stuttgart. But I'm quite happy with the stir-on there. Like I say, I've got these Robinson's Mammoth, and I'm just going to sow them now because I always sow them too late. Whether they'll come off or not, I'm not 100% sure. I have some red burgundy. You know what? 1,000 seeds there, and I think these were probably 99 pence, if that. You know what I mean? So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
What else have I got? They're all kind of... Now, these I'm just showing them that these are spring onions, but it's this... You get these from direct plants, Premier Seeds, and it's just this. This is where I get that lettuce from. That kind of works so well. It's this, whoever this company is, Premier Seeds, kind of distribute them, and I love them. And this is probably another. Can you see I'm kind of looking desperate for red onions because I don't really kind of grow red onions very well. You know what I mean? Stephen, what can you recommend for like onion seeds?
Well, I've got Bedfordshire Champion, which, you know, most folk will know. They're a great white onion, and they do get to a really big size. Did I say big?
Are they full of the water, Steve, or they're a nice kind of...
No, they store well. I've got a couple of ropes of them hanging in the shed at the moment, at the back there. So, and where you're using them, you just only need to get one where you might need to get 2 or 3 otherwise.
I should have forgotten some of them. Should have listened to you when you were talking about them.
That's the Mammoth Red.
Yeah.
That's the Mammoth Red. That's how they come packaged now.
I was going to say, let's have a look at the package there, Steve. I'll just put you on. Right, so that's the new kind of package. And you drove, I wish I had the photograph, you drove past the actual company and you said it's just like a hut in the winter time. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
these are kind of renowned. This kind of mammoth. You know what I mean? This guy's renowned for his onions, all giant veg. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? When you
they've been there over 100 years, and they developed the mammoth white and the mammoth red. They've got massive greenhouses there. You know, those great big ones with the brick bases. They're like, I don't know, they must be 30 foot across and 50 foot long. They're huge greenhouses, and they grow indoors and in their fields as well. But yeah, the sales bit where you can go up and buy some seeds or some plants in the winter is just an old. It's not an old shed. It's just a shed, probably no more than 12 by 14 or something. So, and in the summer, they've got an outhouse where they sell tomato plants and that sort of thing as well.
Whereabouts are they in the country then, Steve? Because you were, I think, going down to relatives, and you just took a snap, and as you part. Whereabouts are they physically?
It's Pauline Morris is here. She knows the exact address because I know she lives local. It's around the Garstang area. It's not far from Garstang.
Where the hell's Garstang? How are you, man? Give it a bit more kind of.
Doesn't sound very British.
It's Lancashire.
Right, Lancashire. Right. What else? Anything else you're growing or not? Or
yes, I've got one of these. I haven't grown these for a number of years, but I've got this one as well, and people will know this one. It's the Kelsey onion.
Right. Is that a short onion as well? See, or a bigger?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because somebody recommended that to me, but to buy them like already as onions, and I did get a nice little crop, mind you. I did them in that big nasty bed, and there was a couple that had the white rot, but I was quite, quite impressed with them, to be honest. But like I say, someone actually planted the seed for it, sent the seed over in wrapped, as like a company, and they came. I just had to kind of put them in, and I was about 3 foot away from the finishing line when I got them, so it wasn't growing them. So, Stephen, on your recommendation, I'll just put you there. Just show you this now. I'm going to go into my Zoomed. Right, this is my compost, Stephen.
Oh, that looks good.
It's been sieved. It's
good.
It's been warmed. And it's got a little bit of moisture in there as well, right? So that's my. Now, I know JB's and actually it was JB that told me about this. I've got this bag of vermiculite. I've got so much of it, JB. It's a giant bag. You know what I mean?
The sack, yeah.
And what a bargain it was. So I brought some down from the hut. Now, Steve, would you recommend me or anybody putting vermiculite in compost for the onion seeds? Because I know JB adds it with his chili seeds. Yep. Would you do that for onion seeds, Steve?
Yeah, it just adds a bit of aeration into the mix. It stops it getting cold and claggy, stops your compost. Because if you're watering from the top all the time, the compost will eventually settle under the pressure of the water. And it just lightens the mix and adds air into it. It's brilliant, especially for young emerging plants and their roots. So, yeah.
Right.
Well, I use it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this because Steve's got some onions to show with a kind of like how to plant. But do you think I'll put that whole bag in?
No. Put a few handfuls in there. 2 handfuls, probably.
Right. Well, I'm not going to. That'll take a little bit. Bit more. I've got big hands. I put all this stuff in this bag, and it's got like 2 bloody holes in it. Anyway, so there's dust everywhere. So
there's a trail right through the house.
Now, this is actually the first time I've used vermiculite. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, JB, give us a link to it. JB, I don't know if you can just even find that link again if it's still the same price, but the amount I got was just like, if anybody...
It's really, really shocking because you can buy it from kind of 10-litre bags at garden centres. And it's normally about a tenner. I think. And normally online you can get it from a wholesaler and you get 100 litres, literally 10 times as much for about 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And so long as you've got space to store it, then it's
Well, Steve,
golden.
you did say as
So
well
much.
that you kind of recommend. I've got that bag, and he says you've had it in about 4 years or something, and it's still
Still got it.
Yeah.
I still haven't used half of it, to be honest, because you only use a couple of handfuls at a time. But I mean, one great tip is if you can have a look at it before you buy it, then go to an insulation specialist, somebody who's selling insulation for houses, because they use vermiculite in lofts.
All right.
Yeah. So when you go and see, if you're walking past them putting up new houses, you'll see great big sausages. They're about 3 foot wide and about 15 foot long, white sausages, and they're full of vermiculite, and they pump them into cavity walls.
Right.
When they finish the buildings.
Oh, it's funny. I've seen them. I know what you're on about. You know, Steve, you did. Ian's grown locally. You did his microgreens.
Yeah.
Could you use that koi as a compost for onions, or?
You probably could, but you've got to be aware that with koya, there's no feed in.
Koya, sorry.
There's no feed in there at all. As a medium for growing in, it's great. Personally, I don't quite get on with it, and the microgreens I've got growing at the minute, it's the first time it's really worked for me, to be honest. But then again, I'm paying them more attention because they're on my windowsill at home, so not letting it dry. It does dry out quick if you're not careful. And there's no feed content in there. So if you're going to use it for growing plants in, great for getting seeds started, probably. But then after that, you're going to have to make sure there's feed for the plants.
So, JB, how many trays have you got? Because you're going to do some seed sowing as well there, sir.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I've really got enough. So I've got the 4 seed packets. And what I could find at short notice.
And now I want to get ready.
Yes.
Yeah. These kind of ones. So that's a full
half
kind of
trays
seed at the bottom, and then 2 half trays. Yeah. And they're filled with suboptimal compost. I always say. I did bring it in yesterday, so it has warmed up.
Did you not get Steve's memo? It had to be warmed up 3 or 4 days, he said. He gave me the instructions. 3 or 4 days. It had to be damp, and it had to be this and that. And I thought, I better get that right, because if he goes bloody... Because I just got me onion seeds the other day, because I forgot to order the picking onion seeds. So, suboptimal...
We're very professional.
Yes, well, JB, suboptimal is not a good start. Do you know what I mean?
It's not a great start.
It's not a good start, so kind of...
I think it should be okay. The main issue and the main thing I was concerned about is it's been outside for quite a long time. I bought it, I think, last season. It's got wet a lot. A lot of the water has stayed in the bag. So what
Steel's the word you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I've mixed in a bit of some slightly fresher compost that I had lying around, and some perlite as well, the white rocks, to just dry it out a little bit, make sure that it's not going to be completely waterlogged.
So JB, JB, sorry, just to jump in, because I've thought of a question there, just for folks that are not, the difference from vermiculite to perlite, what is that?
So they kind of do opposite things, and sometimes it seems a bit counterintuitive using them both in a soil mix, but vermiculite is the big kind of chunky, it's like a mineral. And it's more absorbent, so it actually acts a little bit like a sponge, and can kind of make sure that your soil mix stays hydrated for longer. It doesn't dry out as quickly, and it can kind of absorb nutrients as well from feed. But perlite is kind of the opposite. It's basically kind of small rocks, and they're good for aeration, so it stops the compaction of the soil, and it stops it from getting too wet, which is especially good for things like chili peppers, which is why I use it. And today, like I say, I've used it just because I know that I'm starting with soil that is a bit too wet. And the other thing about perlite is, as it heats up, it kind of expands a bit and then contracts, and that is what kind of helps the aeration of the soil, and it stops the compaction.
So on your chilies then, JB, just I know we'll go back to chilies there. Do you use both vermiculite and perlite in your
Yeah, I do.
Right. And you get good
Like
results.
I say, they do kind of different things, but in combination, they do work quite well.
Stephen, what's anything else you can recommend with your compost? Because have you got some compost there? Have you got your setup ready, sir, for this grand sow?
Oh yeah. I've got my little tray ready. I'm only going to sow the one because they're all sow the same. So,
Mine, I'll be honest though, Steve. Those can you see mine as well? These little, they're just for me an ideal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
an ideal.
they're brilliant.
And you can get, like, say if I had tomatoes, you can get a full season of tomatoes. You know what I mean? In one little tray. You know what I mean? What's with onions then, Steve? How much do you sow in a would you sow like half a packet, or do you just kind of sprinkle on the top?
Yeah, probably would, and I just broadcast them on there, so I'm not sowing them in rows, or I'm not even doing trenching or anything like that. Just sow them on, and then later I'll cover them with some more compost, and that's it. Job done, easy peasy.
And what about Steve? You know, like say, so I've got that now. I've filled it with my compost. I tamp it down. I put the seeds on. I've give a little bit more compost into a plastic bag.
No, you don't need to. I mean, I've got the lids for these here, which is for the propagator. I'll put the lid on, but on top here I will open this vent so it doesn't get too moist in there and too damp, and then just put it somewhere for them to germinate, and then they'll go out into the greenhouse. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's just another job out of the way. That's the thing. That's the key thing.
How long would you say then for germination? In, like you say, in like a 10-degree room, would it like a couple of weeks?
I would say so. Yeah, you'll start to see signs. If I've not seen anything after 2 weeks, then I might put it on a propagator for a couple of days, just to encourage them to come. But then as soon as I see any green coming through, I'll take it off the propagator and away.
Well, this is Christmas. I was supposed to get off the daughter one of those Super 7, right? And I says, because she got us Peter Kay tickets. Peter Kay, like the comedian, got Peter.
Yeah. Really?
And and lovely. I was like, oh.
Where's my propagator?
I said, did you get me propagator, right? Because I knew the day school was on. And she said, Aidan's bought it, who's our boyfriend, Aidan, but Aidan lives in Nottingham, who's driving up actually now, we're probably an hour away from, she says, Aidan's got it. Dad, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So I would have had it here to kind of, so what I want to do though, Steve, and hopefully I'm doing the right thing, is actually switch that on and put the little things. Is that okay to do that then? Have a bit of kind of heat from the beginning?
That propagator, the Super 7 propagator, only heats up, I think, about 8 or 10 degrees above ambient room temperature. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it depends where you put if you put the propagator in a cold porch and put them on, they'll be fine in there. You just don't want them. You don't really want them any hotter than 16 degrees. You certainly don't want them into the 20s. That's no good for them.
Right. And then, when they have germinated, do you know what I mean? And say 2 inches, then take them up to or would you, as soon as they kind of come through, get them out, get them into the greenhouse?
You've got to wait for what they call the crook stage, CROOK, and that's as the stem comes up, the top of it will bend over at that sort of an angle. Then you dig it out. I use a seed label, hold on to the top gently, dig it out and transplant it into modules. Right.
Also, right. So we're going like one kind of, there's a top tip then. One module for one little seed.
Yeah.
Because what I was hoping, Steve, was what I was going to do was kind of get them to about that height. You know what I mean? And then kind of, so you're actually transplanting way before that then?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
So they'll all be individual plants and they'll fill the modules. Sometimes if growth is rapid, you actually need to repot them before the ground is ready to pot them into outside. But that doesn't happen that often.
So I know we're whizzing through this there. So we've transplanted them into them trays. and I'm gonna say that's like say the end of January. Maybe you've transplanted them into them trays. When would you
Right.
actually put them into your garden?
Now, this is a
Oh, it's
difficult
all
one.
magic. It's all like, well, it all depends on. No, we want a fixed date, the 19th of February, something like
No
that.
chance. No chance of getting the date out of me. It depends on the weather. You want the ground to be right. You want the ground to be dry and warmish, so you'll want a few days sunshine, just to give them that start and give them that urgency to get out of that little plug and escape from it. If they've got everything they need in that plug and they've been quite happily growing away, there's no encouragement for them to get out into the soil. So if the soil's warm and it's not too wet, the plant thinks, oh, I like this, and off it'll go and start sending its roots out. But I would say probably the end of March, maybe,
Right,
somewhere around there.
right. Well, that's a good
Rough date.
end of March. Good. When would you then, Stephen, be wanting to kind of lift your fruits, your wares? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, just showed his.
Posh
Sorry, the chat were asking about my mug.
When would you then,
well-
Steve, like expect to like think right there? Because I normally wait till my onions kind of keel over a little bit before I'm even interested in pulling them over. But as a date, if every garden scenario weather was okay, right, we just had a normal kind of UK garden, season. When would you be looking to pull them?
Later that year.
There you go. There's a big state for you.
This is one of these things that keeps cropping up in gardening. When do you plant them? Well, you plant when the soil's ready. When do you harvest them? You harvest them when they're ready. How much water do I put on the tomato? Well, you put on how much that plant needs. There are no set things really in gardening, and you have to use your skill and judgments to judge that.
I think it's one of the most frustrating things when you first start gardening. If you're a new gardener, every guide that you look at, every instruction is the same thing. It's basically the question is how long is a piece of string. It depends on so many factors.
Yes.
And like Steve says, it's a skill that you kind of learn how to read those factors and learn when things are ready. But when you're just starting out, it's like, just give me a date.
I know. That's all we want is a date.
Is that when I do it?
It's funny enough.
It doesn't work like that.
JB, it's funny enough because I watched a Charlie Dowden one about garlic, and I'm sure he said the 24th of June. He picked that, and I went, right. And I've ever since, like as if I know what I'm doing on my videos. And don't forget, you kind of lift them about the 24th of June. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, and it's in the ballpark. You know what I mean? For sure, for garlic, like kind of the 24th of June. So, and you're exactly right. When you're first starting out, though, it's like, what do you mean? Water when it needs it. Tell us who's going to tell us it needs. You know what I mean? How do you know it's kind of? So yes. It's a difficult thing. What, out of all your onions, Steve, which are the ones you would like to kind of cross the finishing line? Is there some that you think, well, I can, if I don't get a red onion, or is it the white onions that you kind of would sacrifice first, or?
No, the white onions are the preferred ones because they store the best. I mean, I've got the Mammoth Reds there, and they're nice, and I do want big reds. That's why I grow the Mammoth Reds. I don't grow any other red at all. I've tried a few, but I want decent-sized onions. I don't want to be messing around with tiddlers. So that's why I grow the Mammoth Reds. But it's the Bedfordshire champion for me every time because it's a base of my kitchen and the base of my cooking is the onion. So I've got to have them.
I'll have to get a packet of them then. You know what I mean? Just to kind of try them, and I hopefully, I don't know what the kind of it's been a bit of, I'm not saying annoying, you know what I mean? Kind of first world problems there, like the postal strike. You know what I mean? I can't get me seeds. You know what I mean? They're kind of fighting for the kind of the livelihoods there. So I'm supporting them that way. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? But it's like it's hard to get like a certain seed at the moment. I was thinking my seeds aren't going to come. You know what I mean? It's going to be a few weeks, and I've had things on order from for my coffee machine, a certain like a portafilter. It's still like the 12th of November, and I still, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Oh, really?
nightmare.
God.
So, JB, is there any questions you'd like to ask?
Yes, I was going to ask. So, in terms of the seed cells that you pot on into, or not, prick out into, Steve, how big do those cells need to be? You know, can you use one of those, you know, the Charlie Dowding, I think it's the 60, isn't it? That's got really, really little plugs. And then you kind of go up to 40 is probably
I don't like them.
A normal.
Go
Would
straight
you use
to the 40.
a slightly bigger one? Yeah.
Go straight to the 40.
Have you got a 40, JB?
I think I've got I think the 40 is actually quite small. I'm trying to remember what mine would be. Be 4 by 6? 32? Is that right? Testing
4
my
by
maths.
6 is 32. What?
Yeah.
4 by 8 is 32.
Okay, very good. So what is that? 16? Might be quite a big one that I've got. But yeah, the 40 for us, I can't remember.
I think the Charles Dowding ones are probably a little bit small. I mean, Charles might sow individual seeds into them and grow them as plants, and then he'll pot them on. But the thing you've always got to be careful of when you're potting plants on is not putting it into too big a pot, because you want the plant to use the water that's in the soil around it. You want that drying out and re-wetting process. Otherwise, it's sat in wet water and the plants will drown.
Yeah.
Does it no good at all?
24. I think that's the one I was thinking of. 24 is like the normal one that you'd get, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I would go from a 40 to a 24 if I was potting them on. But I mean, a 40, they're about this sort of width, aren't they? Roughly.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if I've kind of missed a bit of the conversation. I was thinking about something totally else. Steve, would you take your 40 back to a 24 then? So you'd re-pot on before you even get outside?
If they needed it before the ground was ready, you know.
Right. There's a lot of work. When you've just got
it's
the
more
sets.
Than I was expecting.
You've just got the sets and just in the ground, and that's it.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say from the seed trays into the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does sound like it's a bit more like a tomato or a pepper or something. You know, you've got to keep it going and going.
Well, all plants are like that. They all follow that same procedure, and that's why that then becomes automatic. And if you're doing the same thing with all your plants, you become that much more deft at doing it. And then these things happen quickly. I mean, Tony's always commented how quick I pot my seedlings on. But if you're doing thousands every year, it becomes second nature, and it doesn't take long at all. It really doesn't. And the more you do it, the more efficient you are, and the better you are and quicker you are at doing it.
I've got a couple of questions. Go on.
Sorry, go
on. No.
I was going to say that's something that always shocks me when I watch Steve work in his videos. How quickly he can smash out like a tray of seeds. And I'm like, how has he done that so quickly? it's really impressive.
Because we'll laugh about it, Steve, but it is because then you do it, and sometimes we'll do it like on camera. And there's many a time where I better just edit that out because I've just been too, you know what I mean? Looks, you know what I mean? Where you kind of can get it to look good, but you're doing it live and it's like, it's done and you're thinking, and it's like, then you see Steve's seeds come through, straight lines, all perfect. You know what I mean? I did this kind of salad one where there was like, what Steve did, like puts like little kind of divot trough, you know, and plant all seeds. I even hot glued me labels to the side of it, thinking, perfect. Within a week, they'd all come off and it was mixed. And I was like, oh, what a pain in the arse. You know what I mean?
What's the bloody point?
What's the bloody point? Rusty's asking, are you keeping your onions in a cold greenhouse or with heat? You know when you kind of say you took them to the greenhouse, are you starting to kind of switch on your heat already in your greenhouse?
No, there's no heaters on. I mean, I've got a propagator on my windowsill in my kitchen. That's still switched off. And I've got the big heat bench, the beast in the greenhouse that you know about. That's switched off. I've also got a frost heater in there. That's switched off. And I probably won't switch them on for another couple of weeks yet. But no, onions don't need heat. 13 degrees is about ideal. but anywhere in the range, sort of between 10 and 16 is fine. You don't want too cold and you don't want too hot.
Right. JB, I've got Pauline Morris is asking, is it horticultural vermiculite, or where did you get it, Tony? Now, like I say, I got a link off JB, so I don't know what the difference is. What's the difference from horticultural? Just more expensive, I'm going to say.
It's a good question. I think from what I've noted is when you buy it in the small bags from the garden centre, it is much finer. It's like a much smaller kind of particle. When you get it in the big bags, it is definitely a lot chunkier. I actually have some just here, and this is the bigger one. So you can see the chunks. Maybe you can't see that. But they're definitely a lot bigger.
No, it's not doing it. It's not doing it on the focus.
It's not doing it. You just have to trust me. It's a lot bigger. They're kind of. Whereas when you get it from the garden centre, which might be the horticultural stuff, it's more like the size of that would come out of a pepper mill or something like that.
Right.
It's really, really fine.
And JB, would you find that the stuff we've got is the better stuff than the kind of finer powdery stuff, or?
I think they probably both work fine, but the finer stuff is probably better. You see sometimes people coat their seed cells with them. And I think if you're going to be doing that, the finer stuff is probably better because you can just get a lot more on there. Whereas if you put the big chunky stuff on top, it won't really most of it won't be in contact with the soil, or there'll be lots of air in there. And the whole thing about having the vermiculite on top for seed sowing is it keeps the top really nice and moist, which, a lot of seeds will need for germination. So I think if you're using it in your soil mix, the big stuff's fine. I'm guessing though. I could be wrong. I'm just kind of guessing. Oh, Jeff has said that the horticultural stuff has dust removed. Yeah. Which can get claggy or sticky when wet.
Oh, right. So, also, they've removed the dust and it's just the particles. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and Claire's saying if you've got the big stuff, it can be a bit dusty. So
maybe I've got JB. You told us to get that. I've got enough to last 20 years.
It's still fine. It's definitely the big stuff is fine in the mix for sure, 100%.
And can you get? I know your perlite. Can you get that in that size as well, or is that just?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I posted a link to both.
Right.
There's some Amazon links in the chat. But I'll post again.
If you want, don't forget, because I can't see many onion questions. I just want to kind of stick it to onion related before we kind of shoot off there. Put a capital Q on your question, and then I'll find it up there. So, Steve, can we see you sowing some seeds in? Or
yes, I can change the camera view, and hopefully this works and I don't freeze. Let's see how that works.
Oh, look at that! Perfect, perfect.
Hello.
So, is that just before we start then, Steve? Is that the sparkly? Is that your bench, or is that on? Because it looks like it's on soil as well. Is that your bench?
It does.
Oh, it is right. I actually like it.
Yes.
I thought it was bench. Just like you had a nice big compost bed there as well. So what onions are these then, Steve?
Well, these ones I'm going to sow. Let's see if I can get them in here. The Mammoth Reds. So they're kind of loose in the packet. You can just about see them in there.
So a few, so you can send some over to me when they're cool.
And all I'm going to do is just gently broadcast them on here. And I'll probably end up sowing about 40 or 50 in this tray. And I think that's probably about right. And all I'll do with that now is just push them down so that the seeds are in contact with the compost. And I'll put about 0.5 centimetre of compost on top of that, which I've got in the kitchen, where everyone should keep the compost. And then I'll just put a spray of water over the top of that compost just to wet that. This is wet this morning. It looks dry because it's been sat there for an hour. But yeah, and that's it. And then all I've got to do then is put my little lid on, and I'll put that on the kitchen windowsill, and then I'll open that to vent it.
Right.
And that's
so
it.
It doesn't have to be in this this cliche dark cupboard, like in dark. You can just put it on the windowsill like that, Steve, can you?
Yeah, I mean, they'll be in the dark anyway because there'll be a layer of compost on top of them anyway. So,
Right. We're getting some questions in there now, Steve, so we can answer some questions as well. Can I start Roscoff onions off now? This is Rainy. I've never heard of Roscoff. Is that like a I don't
they're
know.
a specialist onion. That I've tasted them and they're really nice. I've never actually grown them myself.
Right. What? I guess they're just an onion, but like a chef's onion or something, Steve? Or
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
They are a specialist onion.
Right.
I'm just trying to remember, and I don't want to quote it unless I know. I can't remember if they're French or Italian, but they're one of those.
Right.
I can't remember.
Ivy Passmore is asking, is it too late to plant winter onion sets? Thanks.
Oh, God, you've got plenty of time to plant onion sets. You can plant them all the way up until April. No problem at all.
I mean, when they say a winter onion set, what does
Well,
that mean? What differentiates a winter onion?
I call them, I know this is a weird thing, but I've always been told Japanese onions. Do you know what I mean? And it's
Yes.
and
The overwintering ones.
Yeah, and they don't grow as big, and you can pick them earlier than your main crop. So I've got some in there now. As you walk into my allotment through my gate, the first bed on the right has got winter onions in, and I forget. Senshu, is that right? Is that how you say
Century,
it? Yeah, Senshui, right? Yeah. So I've got them going, but so you can plant them, Steve, even now.
I don't see why not. They're still an onion and they still grow. Yeah, I just don't grow them because I hate holes in rows. You know, you got plants.
Not in my allotment, big fella. Not in my allotment. That's all I'm saying. Right? Rusty's asking, do onions do well in big pots of short on space? Do onions do well in big pots?
Yeah, they'll grow well in pots.
Right.
Because that means if short on space.
Yes.
I might try that this year to avoid a bit of white rot. Because I realised last year I had all these big, those kind of 30-litre tubs. I mostly use them for sweet corn. But I was thinking of all sorts of things I'm going to try in them this year that I'm really excited to kind of try out. Because I just love the idea of being able to move them, especially as to kind of get to the close of the season. I'm definitely going to try some onions in them, see if I can avoid them.
Steve, Sue Jones is asking, do you sow shallot seeds now as well?
No, I'll wait till March for those. February for my leeks and March for the shallots. So mid-March.
I'm not talking about Steve. I'm not going for banana shallots. Like normal kind of bunching shallots. Would you grow them as a seed as well, or from a set?
Probably as a set. The ones I grow from seed, as you know, are the Zabrun shallots. But if you're wanting to plant shallot sets, then about sort of March, when the soil's ready to accept them.
I think I'm not going to bother with banana shallots this year. I just kind of, because I haven't ordered any, and I think they were the wrong type that came, and I'm just kind of knocked by it. Do you know what I mean? I'm knocked by the disappointment, and because I thought they were going to be tremendous. Do you know what I mean? It was all green, lovely thick stems right the way until I kind of picked a couple for test, and then they were just like hollow papery tissue paper, rancid things, and I thought, right.
And what caused that?
I don't know. To be honest, I think wrong seed, or a wrong strain. I don't know. You know what I mean? Ballyston allotment man, do you spray lukewarm water, Steve, on them? I guess when you've sown your seeds there, do you spray a little bit of lukewarm water or just cold water?
Cold water's fine, but if you've warmed your compost in your house, or like I have in my kitchen, it wouldn't hurt to put a little bit of warm water in there. Just take away that chill that you'll get from the tap, because you've warmed your soil a little bit. So there's no point making them cold again.
Well, Pam's actually talking about banana shallots. When do you sow your banana shallots, Steve? March?
Yeah, again in March, mid-March.
Aye.
It's all to do with season length and days to maturity of these different things. It's like I said right at the start, I get a bit upset when people are sowing the leeks on Boxing Day, calling it traditional. It is and it isn't. If you're showing leeks in the autumn shows, so sort of August and September, that's when you want your leeks to mature by. So you'll sow them in early, or late December. If you want them to stand in the ground without them going to seed, sow them much later, because they've only got a certain length till they're mature. And if they're mature in August, you've still got all August and September for them to flower and ruin.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to time them to be ready in the ground, mature at the end of that season, so that they haven't got a time or a chance to flower, and then they can sit in the ground all the way through your winter, and you can pick them, and that's the perfect, and that's the ideal.
Well, that's what mine are just kind of sitting there, like the frost hasn't bit them out. You know what I mean? They're doing great. So is me broad beans, mind you. I had a little look the other day, and my broad beans, Stephen, are doing fine. You know what I mean? Just point that out to folks.
Yeah.
Steve, Graham Smith's asking, onions in pots on top of raised beds. Now, I personally can't see the point of that. But if you've got a raised bed, I would have thought that would be good enough. But I guess there's no stopping Graham if he wants to.
No, I don't see why not. I mean, it might be somebody who's got, how shall I put it, mobility or access issues, and doing it that way might be easier. You can grow onions in pots, no problem. You can put one onion in the centre of the pot and get one big onion, or you can grow several and have handfuls of little ones. No problem at all.
Right. Anne's asking, I'm growing, excuse me if I get these wrong, red Creole onions, and is it Carlisle onions? Are these onions big or small? Big or small onions? Small or big onions? I've never heard of them. And
no, I don't know them. No, I don't know them.
It's always surprising when Steve's not heard of one.
I know. It's like,
Well, no, it's not. It's not so much that I.
No, it is. It is. It's quite funny. Yes. We'll take it.
It's not that they're not popular. It's just that I don't grow every variety, especially if I've got a variety that works. Now and again, I'll try another variety. But like last year, I think I grew red Brunswick. That was an American variety, but I didn't like them because they were big, but they were flat. They were they were a weird thing.
I think
I didn't really like them.
I'm sure Stuttgart's a bit like that as well, or I'm sure one of them is anyways. JB, you're itching there. You've been playing with your soil. You've been playing in your soil pit.
So
what have you done then?
I've just sowed my Bedfordshire's.
Right.
And I've gone for pretty much the entire seed packet in these because they're half trays.
Well, there's a lot of vermiculite in there, mind you, if you're asking.
I was literally just saying, with the bigger stuff, probably don't put it on the top. But I don't have any compost to hand in the office, and just thought, give it a go.
Give it a go.
See if the big vermiculite on top does work or not.
Yes.
I'm always,
right. Andy Ree is asking, which is a great question. Can you get white rot on resistant onions?
Oh.
As far as I know, there is not a resistant strain. There isn't a resistant white rot onion that's been bred. I could be wrong.
We've tried it, JB. Yeah, we've tried every onion and they fail every time. So you know what I mean.
Exactly. Yeah, there could be one that someone somewhere in a lab is developing, and hopefully they are. The thing that always weirds me out about white rot is that it's not an issue commercially, or not that I've ever heard of. You don't hear about kind of allium farmers or people that are growing onions for the supermarket having to deal with it. I guess if they get it, they just switch to growing something else. But I can imagine if you do have it in a agricultural scenario, it would just be awful.
See, I was going to say, JB, I cannot see them switching. There must be something, because you wouldn't switch your whole production to a turnip from an onion if you're an onion grower. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think most, kind of, if you're doing it at a big scale, you probably can switch relatively easy to a different type of crop. I'm not I'm not 100%.
The thing is with farmers, they will grow what their ground will grow. So if it's suitable for growing cabbages, they'll grow cabbages. If it's not suitable for onions, then they just won't. They won't, bother with them.
It's a great point that JB's made there, and I never even thought of that, because sometimes our crops are just devastated by it, and it just messes up. So what happens when a commercial grower gets it? Because once you're in your soil, I wonder if there's a treatment that it's like a quick, obviously commercials are not always like organic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just blitz screen something with something that'll just kind of.
I should think so, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But that's why we grow organic at home, to avoid all that chemical nonsense, as much as we can.
Yeah.
Right. Last question then. Pam Clark of Garden Whedon is asking. Allium leaf miner, will fine mesh be enough? Claire from Grow Plotty used fine mesh for leeks and they still got in. So I'm guessing.
I would suspect. Go on, JB.
I was going to say, I think you can get finer meshes than the one that Claire used. I know she's in the chat, so she might pipe up and let people know. But I think the mesh that she used, it wasn't quite as fine as the kind of EnviroMesh stuff you can get that really blocks everything out. So I think they're just such a small little creature. They can get through slightly bigger meshes.
I haven't had them. What's the signs that you've got that then, JB?
Well, I'm really fortunate as well. Touch wood.
Oh, hey, man, we are rocking.
Yeah, I get a white rock, but no allium leaf miner. But it's quite distinctive, because when you take the harvest, you'll see these kind of little vertical channels in your actual leek, and they'll kind of be a bit discolored, a little bit brown, and then at the bottom you might find a little grubby boy. I think they're brown, and what they do is they burrow in. They kind of feed on your leek, leave that little channel, and then they rest kind of over winter. And I think they emerge in spring, which is a kind of a classic life cycle of an insect. And it's not too bad. I think normally, unless you've got absolutely loads of damage in the leek, you could just cut it out a little bit. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of people just kind of deal with and just cut out the bad bits. But I do know Claire was saying last year she lost loads and loads of
well, I'm going to make an exception. Claire's actually one more question there. Has Steve got any advice on growing onions in echinaceous compost, as fungus doesn't seem to like acidic conditions?
Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting question, one I haven't really thought of, to be honest.
There's a test there, Steve, for you if ever there was a test.
I would say you would have to go and have a look at onions and what pH conditions they require. And I've forgotten off the top of my head what pH they like, and see if the compost was within that range. As long as those two match, then I don't see why not. Don't see why not at all.
Yeah. Now, I don't. We're coming to the end of the show there now, and I haven't asked these two gentlemen for a tip of the week. If they've got one on an onion, that'll be fine. But I'm gonna give you a tip of the week. By God, yes, I'm gonna go step out of the comfort zone.
It's Christmas.
So it's Christmas. So these are kind of the Premier Seeds Direct seeds, and when I get you kind of. Any seed packet, I guess, you know what I mean? It's not a very good tip, but I find it works perfect. So when I've opened it, I fold it over, and then I kind of just use a paper clip.
Oh, that's smart.
To keep that there. And I have nice, I know it's kind of hard to, where I put my other zoomed, which is me zoomed. I have a load of kind of paper clips in my seeds as well. So I just find that like a paper clip on there works fantastic. So that was my Christmas tip. That's it. That's me for the year.
Very good.
Well, I think
I've got a similar thing. I've got little tiny bulldog clips.
Yes,
and they're about 0.5 centimetre in size, and I use those.
Because inevitably, like you say, like packets of seeds open and don't, you know what I mean? So kind of paper clips, you know what I mean? So
it's very wise.
Top of the hour. We've spent an hour waffling about
flies,
onions.
It always
you know what I mean?
flies.
I've really enjoyed this show, to be honest. It's quite nice where we've picked a specific topic.
Subject,
Yeah, you know what I mean? Maybe we should do this again once a month, you know what I mean? Have a kind of a special, you know what I mean?
As long as Steve's here.
Yeah. It would be a bit kind. It was just me and you, JB. It was kind of right. Well, that's 10 minutes in. We're out of here. Goodbye.
I'd just be googling stuff and telling you what Google said.
Well, while we're here, then let me just kind of please pop over to the Discord. What I am going to do, I'm going to close it down soon as well. So I'm going to close it down so we're all just like in there at the moment, and then I'll open it back up in a kind of few weeks' time. So in a few days, once I find out, I'm going to kind of close that down just so it's kind of encouraging you to kind of get in there now and get, chatting on. Don't forget our podcast. If you want to kind of listen to this, which I actually do all the time, listen to it. There's links all over the place. Listen to the podcast of this show as well. And if you want to be kind of so kind for the I've got 25 generous patrons there support this show on Patreon. That would be fantastic as well. Have we got any final words?
Yes, I've got two things I wanted to say to JB, really.
All right. JB.
He was mentioning earlier about his substandard compost, about sowing his seeds in it. It doesn't matter because it's a seed, and as he knows himself from his training, that a seed will grow, and you only need to get it up to seedling size and pot it on into decent compost. That's the first thing. And the second thing was those old seed parade seeds that you have that you're not sure about. Multi-sow them into modules. Just put 7 or 8 in each one. You can either use them as spring onions or separate them later on. They'll separate nice and easy and plant them, but you're maximising your potential there.
Yeah, really good points. I like that point about the compost as well. Yeah, certainly for seed sowing, it doesn't need much content, does it?
No,
I was mainly talking about the texture and moisture of that one.
Right.
You will. I think that's it. Have we got anything else? Final words to see? I would like to see it again. Good luck
for the year. That's
yes. Let's have a
start of the season.
God, and thank you everyone for coming on like an early shift for in the garden.
Time for a drink now. I think the sun's past the yard arm.
Well, I haven't. It's 12 o'clock and I haven't even had my breakfast yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, me too.
Oh, here's a question, Steve. I know you'll just spit this out of the whole room, but my son's right into kind of cooking there but watching all like the TikTok chefs, and one of my little stocking fillers that I got off, it was kind of put in, was a bag of MSG. Yes.
Monosodium glutamate.
Yes. Now, I'm not joking, Steve. He made scrambled egg for us, and he does the nicest scrambled eggs. You know what I mean? Like way better than I can do. But this time sprinkled a little bit of MSG on. It blew my mind how nice that umami flavor was. What's your? I want to get. You know what I mean? What are you okay with it? Because I think a few years ago there was this kind of thing. Oh, it's not good. But I think that's been disproven, and it's not that bad for you. It's not bad for you. JB's shaking. He's loving it. I think he's drinking the MSG.
Yeah. I had a friend who used it on everything, and it was like, when I tasted some of his food, I was like, oh my God, it's so good. It makes such a big difference. And so far as I know, it was actually, I think, I could be wrong, but I think the whole kind of controversy about its safety was actually it was propaganda. I think it was deliberately kind of manufactured propaganda about it being used in Asian cooking. And I think it was like a very deliberate kind of manufactured
attack
kind of project. Yeah, exactly, an attack.
Right.
I might want to double check that.
No,
that's my understanding.
So,
it's definitely safe. It is definitely safe. It's just a salt, essentially. It's the same kind of salt.
It's a flavor that's just like, I could see the scrambled eggs. You know what I mean, with kind of butter and just that kind of run. I don't like a tough scrambled eggs. It's got to be almost
soft,
really soft. Do you know what I mean? It was just delicious. So,
as the French call it, baveuse. Bavers, that's what the French call it, bavers. It's
Well, listen,
still slightly runny.
everyone, thank you so much. We are kind of running right over this. I promised these two fine gentlemen will be on for 10 minutes. So we've been on an hour and 10 minutes. So big thank you to everyone that's kind of come over and watched on this kind of Boxing Day special. We will see you next week as well. And I'm not sure who's on, but I think Jess is on the week after, but I'm not sure who's on next week. I'll have to kind of scurry round, you know what I mean, and kind of finish off me eggnog and everything and get myself sorted out. Look after yourselves, Steve, JB. Thank you so much. Take care.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Doodle pip.